This is Divine Lifestyles with Tara Magalski. What is a divine lifestyle? Passion, purpose, and living in alignment with your truth. Thanks for tuning into Divine Lifestyles, transforming your life with purpose. We share stories of transformation that feed your spirit, mind, and body. I'm your host, Tara Magalski, and today's guest is the beautiful Ruby Freemon. Thank you so much, Ruby, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tara.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Ruby is a transformational coach, healer, and self-love advocate whose focus is to help her clients release their toxic patterns and reignite their lives. Now, I met Ruby at Archangel Academy. It was a couple months ago now. And when she got up and she shared her story, I was really, really touched. And I asked her if we could just chat, and I wanted to know a little bit more about her. So Ruby, would you mind actually just sharing what you shared that day when we got up for 126 Talks?
Yeah, so a quick recap, because I don't exactly remember what I said, but I have lived with depression and anxiety my entire life and been on and off prescriptions for the majority of my life, majority of my young adult years, not knowing what was truly, truly wrong. And that really fed into a lot of other stuff. So I ended up in a pattern of being in toxic relationships. I was really given into my fears and limiting beliefs. I was spiraling out of control. I mean, by the time I was 30, I was really close to hitting rock bottom. And I had just, it was like I was I was a witness to what was going on in my life. I didn't really understand what was happening, but I was really involved with drugs and alcohol and highly dependent on others, and I wasn't really looking within to see what was truly going on. And when I finally did hit rock bottom, that was when I heard a voice inside me that had said something along the lines of, "You created this." And here I was, this person who had created a habit out of pointing the finger to everyone else, out of blaming the universe for all my misfortunes. Like, I was that person. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden this voice inside me says, "You created this." What a light bulb moment. I mean, it felt like a slap to the face, and it woke me up. And I realized that, yeah, I did create this. I created it because I really honestly believed that this was the life I thought I was worthy of living. Abusive relationships, drugs and alcohol, toxic friendships. That's what I thought I deserved. And when I pieced that together, that's when I began what I call a journey to self-love, and really just learning to take care of myself for the first time ever, and learning to show myself love, and learning to have that healthy relationship with self, which I had never had before. And that's led me to where I am today.
Now, I know that you lived, like you said, you lived a completely different life before you had this catalyst moment where you hit your rock bottom. You were working in nightlife. You were in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey up to the point where you had rock bottom? What was it like growing up? Where did the negative patterns of behavior come from?
So I grew up in an extremely loving family. But I had always felt off balance. Like, there was this sadness I couldn't shake. There was a feeling of not belonging that I just couldn't shake. And when I was younger, I couldn't figure it out. I mean, that was depression. They just didn't put a name to it yet. And as I grew up in my teenage years, my depression seemed to get worse. But again, I didn't know what it was, so I wasn't being treated for it. And when you don't know what it is, you don't really know how to identify what you need to do to get out. And by the time I ended up working in nightlife, I mean, I was never the popular girl. So this career really opened doors for me, and I began to crack out of my shell and become more outgoing. But what I found was that I really depended on drugs and alcohol to be fun. To be that fun promoter, to be that person that could keep up with everyone. I fell into that so easily, and I've always been the type to, I wouldn't call myself a highly addictive person, but anything that numbs my pain, I will flock to. And this was helping me, the partying was helping me forget about this depression. And so for years, I didn't really connect to it. I would party all night and maybe even all morning, and then wake up the next day and for the following 12 hours be in the lowest depression funk. I mean, crying, feeling alone, and I get really emotional when I talk about that because I can connect to that feeling, and it's a horrible feeling. I don't wish it upon anyone. And this was just the cycle that I was living. And to top it off, I was in a relationship that was verbally and emotionally abusive and highly manipulative. But again, I made that choice to stay. Like, I look back and I'm like, these are all choices that I made. No one forced me. And all of that is what had led me to my rock bottom moment.
Wow, wow. I'm just taking it all in because, as you know, I've dealt with family members, drugs, alcohol, and depression. And I'm always wondering, I always want to know, okay, was it clinical? Is it like something you're born with?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can relate to as well being younger and having like this well of sadness that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where the pain was coming from,
Yeah.
but it was just this current that was always there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered, was this from watching my parents struggle, watching them not lead the healthiest lives,
Mm-hmm.
and just being sad as a child? And then, you don't know where it comes
Mm-hmm.
from. And then usually you have like either that traumatic moment of where you have that catalyst moment where you can either sink or swim.
Yeah.
So did the doctors say that it was more of a clinical depression?
Yeah, I was clinically depressed, and after my rock bottom moment, I experienced a concussion, which actually caused me to be manic depressive.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I lived over a decade clinically depressed. I personally, honestly believe, I mean, it's a mental illness, and I personally believe that it's something that we're born with, and outside influences can make it worse as we grow up.
Mhm.
But the key is to understand what it is. And I think the longer that you stay in that darkness of not knowing and not being able to put a name to it, the less likely you are to treat it. I mean, now I'm completely prescription free, but
Yeah.
I manage it with the tools that I've created, like um, just being aware, going to yoga, meditation, understanding that it's okay to have an off day and not beat myself up. And there's just been so many tools that I've acquired while being on this journey. I've just found that I no longer have that need for prescriptions. There are still days that I have those days where, God, I wish I had something to help
Hmm.
me. But at least now I know that's not the way I want to live. I don't want to be dependent on a pill.
Yeah, that was my next question. What are the challenges that you have faced?
Hmm.
And please share everything that you've learned in your toolbox with our listeners.
Yeah, so the challenges that I face, I mean, with the prescriptions, I at one point was dealing with depression, anxiety, and fibromyalgia, and I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety. I had Ativan, which is what you take when you're in the middle of an anxiety attack,
Yeah.
and I also had medication for rheumatoid arthritis, which was for my fibromyalgia, and a nerve medication. All of this at once. This is what the doctors prescribed me. And at this point, I was around 23, 24 years old. I mean, if you touched me like this, I
Oh,
would scream out in pain. It was so painful. But all of it was related to the depression and how I was feeling. It was all psychosomatic.
mhm.
I was also, I had gone through something extremely traumatic at that time, and so the PTSD is what sprung on the fibromyalgia.
Mhm.
During that time, I was so dependent on these prescriptions. I mean, it was a ritual to me to take them. And then the Ativan became addicting because it really is. It really numbed me out in a way that I'd never experienced before. And it felt really good. And after a year and a half of that, I just realized this is not how I want to live. Like, I would take 5 or 6 Ativans and just pass out for hours. It was awful. And I really just wanted something different. So I started seeking help from a naturopath. I got off my prescriptions. And it still took a lot of years after that for me to hit a rock bottom to say, okay, now I really need to rebuild. But during this rebuilding stage, some of the tools that I've learned is you really have to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
What depression does really well is it keeps you sitting put.
Yep.
You don't feel like moving. You don't feel like getting out of bed. You don't feel like doing anything. You cancel plans with friends. You don't go to the gym. You forget to eat healthy because comfort food feels so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll do things like, even if you're not into drugs and alcohol, you'll sit in front of the TV for hours on end and numb out. You'll just do things to quiet the world around you and the world inside your head. So what I've learned is that that's not the way to deal with it. What you need to do is be really proactive. So if you wake up feeling like you're sinking, like that feeling when you wake up and you're just like, oh my God, I can't do today. Give yourself a moment and then get out of bed. Like, just put your feet over, touch the floor. That's one step. Okay, you've done that. Now stand up. There's another step. Okay, now go to the bathroom and wash up and take a shower. There's another step. Now get dressed. It's all about taking those baby steps. You don't have to plan this massive day to get through this funk. You just have to take it one step at a time. And I think what my problem was before I would beat myself up, and I think a lot of people with this type of mental illness do that. You feel like crap for feeling like crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the biggest things I can advise people on is don't feel like crap for feeling like crap. Just take it one step at a time. And you don't have to go out and like go on a massive field trip around the city. You just have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
You just have to get dressed.
Yeah, and another thing is don't overwhelm yourself when you're feeling like this. Give yourself like small actionable goals,
Mhm.
like 3. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get up, I'm gonna take a shower, and I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yes.
I always find that exercise is the
Mhm.
main key for me. That's my biggest tool. And I'll just be transparent with you. It happened to me yesterday. I was exhausted.
Mhm.
I have been pushing it. And I
Mhm.
came home after work and I said, I'm going to take a nap. But you know, when you're just so overtired and you can't even
Yes.
sleep, and then you start getting in your head a bit.
Mhm.
So it started to happen. And I got myself out of bed, put on my shoes, called up my girlfriend, said, I need accountability. Meet me in Central Park.
Mhm.
I'm not feeling good. I need motivation. She goes, great. I'm on my way. And we met and we went for a run.
Mhm.
I mean, that's all I needed to do to really shift my mindset and to get to break through that depressive state that was starting to come over me.
Yeah, and I love that you did that and that you mentioned movement. And in energy healing, when we get in those funks, what happens is our energy stops flowing. And so that's why we feel really stagnant and
Mm-hmm.
like we're stuck. And so physical movement actually vibrates the energy through you and you begin to create a flow again.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, if you don't run, don't run. Go for a walk, like you mentioned, go for a walk around the block. That's movement. Do some stretching. If you don't feel like leaving your apartment, stretch. Do something to get your body moving, and
Yeah.
then you'll start to shift the energy.
Yeah. I definitely find that the easiest way in for me is through the body.
Hmm.
So now that we're just talking about a little bit of like the energy healing and whatnot, can we talk a little bit about what you think came into alignment for you to be able to accept and step into this positive shift?
What really came into alignment was first off realizing my true self-worth, understanding that I too am worthy of real love. So reconnecting to that love within me.
But how did you do that?
It was all proactive. So
Mm-hmm.
I would wake up, I started practicing affirmations. I would write them on post-it notes and put them on my mirrors. I would
Mm-hmm.
do what I just mentioned about getting out of bed because there were so many days where I just wouldn't get out of bed. So the more I started getting out of bed and getting off the couch, the more that became my norm. It's
Mm-hmm.
about creating new habits. So instead of going out on weeknights and partying, I swapped that for yoga. And the great thing about taking classes as like yoga or any sort of gym class that you do, bar, whatever, is that
Mhm.
you're in a room full of people
Mhm.
and you don't feel as alone, but you don't have to talk to anyone either. So I feel like
Mhm.
it's a really good compromise. And I just found a lot of peace in that. And then just eating healthy, I say that I talk about eating healthy so much because it really did shift because I started feeling better about my body. I had way more energy. I
Mhm.
mean, because I was eating real nourishing meals and not just crap on the go all the time. So it was an accumulation of creating all these new healthy habits, and I didn't do it all in one day. It took,
Mhm.
I mean, it was like over a year long process of me incorporating new things. And I think the biggest thing I can tell you about this is don't worry so much on cutting things out.
Mhm.
Bring more stuff in, the good stuff,
Yes.
create new good habits, and the old bad habits will just slowly slide off.
I absolutely love that because when I work with my clients, I say it's not crowding in, it's crowding out.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep bringing in good foods, and then ultimately, you're not going to be craving the mozzarella sticks, the fried food.
Yeah.
Just start bringing in the good food, and you'll start to see that your taste buds are going to just want healthy food. And it's so true. Food plays such a big role. Nutrition is key
Mm-hmm.
for any type of recovery because when you're eating certain foods, you're going to feel depressed. If
Yeah.
you're eating heavy foods and your blood sugar is spiking and then dropping, you're going to feel depressed. You're using too much energy to digest. So there's like processed foods make you
Yeah.
actually depressed. They make
Mm-hmm.
you agitated.
Mm-hmm.
There's scientific studies on this.
Yeah.
Any foods that have some sort of dyes in them as well are
Mm-hmm.
known to lead to depression. So eating clean is super key. So I'm so happy that you said that.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about your area of expertise about breaking self-destructive patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about your process?
So I help people break their self-destructive patterns by first recognizing that they're there. A lot of people have them, but they don't actually recognize what it is. They just know, okay, I'm stuck. I'm not moving forward. I don't know why these things keep happening. So it's about identifying the patterns that is causing all of that, that is blocking them. And then you want to go and do exactly what I've just been talking about is create new habits. So once you recognize that that pattern is there, it becomes so much easier to deal with when it comes up, when it flares up, because you're now self-aware. And I give my clients things to counteract those negative patterns. And again, it's all proactive. So it's up to my clients to actually utilize the tools that I'm offering them. But
Yeah.
for each person, it's different. I mean, one tool, like affirmations may work for one person, but physical movement may work for another person. So it's all very individualized. But the moment people recognize that the pattern is there and what it is, it just becomes so much easier to break it.
Of course, of
Mm-hmm.
course. Could you tell us what keeps you on this path of continuingly trying to transform and heal?
What keeps me on my path is my story and remembering where I was and how alone I felt and how tough I'm tearing up and how tough it was
Mhm.
because I don't wish that upon anyone else. And yet I see so many people in that same place,
Yeah.
not believing that things can be better. But here I am.
It's
Here I
okay.
am. I'm alive. And there are
Mhm.
times when I feel like I shouldn't be. I'm alive, and not just that, but I am living the life of my dreams, like a life I never imagined I could live. And the fact that I have done this means that anyone, to me, I honestly believe anyone can do it. And I'm here to support
Mhm.
those people.
Wow, that's beautiful. How much do you feel that your relationship with God, the universe, and spirituality really is tied into this?
A lot. I was very religious growing up,
Okay.
and then I gave up on God because it was the codependent relationship. I mean, I was really dependent on God. I didn't understand that we worked together. So at that time, when stuff wasn't going my way and bad things were happening, I looked at it as God is punishing me, and I didn't
Mhm.
bother trying to find the lessons that were hidden in these experiences. So I gave up on God for a long time, and then when I hit rock bottom, I realized that, whoa, this is the universe trying to teach me a lesson. This isn't punishment. It's
Mhm.
just trying to teach me a lesson, like the lesson I need to learn once and for all. And since then, I've been walking along my path hand in hand with the universe. And it's not a codependent relationship. We work together to manifest the things in my life. And when shit comes my way, when it's a crappy situation or experience, I don't sit there and dwell in it. I really work to find the lesson. Like, what is this experience trying to teach me? What is the universe trying to tell me here? And it's
Mhm.
just created all the difference to know that you're not being punished and to know that you're actually being led in the right direction.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because of religion,
Mm-hmm.
we sometimes, yeah, we turn our backs on God, you know. We say, "Oh, it's bad because we're guilted." I mean, it's the Catholic, you know, Catholicism in us. But really, I was raised very Catholic as well, and then I left, didn't, you know, believe in God and all that, and I came back to my Christian roots really after a long journey and realizing that God is with me, in me. God is that love, and that I just had to surrender my own ego and my own drama and just follow and be led.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did that, we were buddies hanging out, you know, co-creating this beautiful life that he wants for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, what tips can you offer someone that's really struggling? Just you can just give me one tip because I know you talked about your tools
Mm-hmm.
earlier, but if you had one thing that you could tell a young girl or guy
Mm-hmm.
who's listening, who's really struggling to find their self-worth, what would that be?
Reach out for help, because I think that's the hardest thing for people to do when they're in that state of mind, because one, you don't feel worthy of help,
Mhm.
and then two, you just feel, I don't know what it is about not feeling worthy, but you feel like people will just give up on you. You feel like you're a burden. You feel like people won't care, and people do care. You're never a burden,
Mhm.
and it's just so important to reach out when you're in that place, because there are people in this world that will help you and support you and just be there to listen to you. And even that is enough. So this isn't a weight that you need to carry all on your own
Mhm.
when the world is filled with support.
I love that. Awesome. So I want you to just tell me a little bit more about the program that you just launched, and I'd love to hear about your vision for your brand.
Sure. So I just launched a group coaching program, which is now full and registration's closed. But
Yeah.
this program is something that is a signature coaching program of mine. It's called the Reboot, and it encompasses all facets of what I teach my clients. So self-love, creating really inspirational goals, so creating a bigger purpose in your life, and the law of attraction, because I'm very much into my relationship with the universe. My one-on-one coaching it also embodies all of that, but it's more long-term. The group coaching is in a group setting for 1 month, and the one-on-one is 3 to 6 months, and it's strictly just me and you. And in those programs, the one-on-one sessions, I also incorporate my energy healing
Mhm.
and weekly tarot reading to offer clarity. So it's a very uh, super aligned program for people who are looking to create massive shifts really fast, because not only do you get the coaching, but you get the shifting of your energy.
Cool. So what is the vision? Tell me where you see yourself in the next 5 years.
I it's really simple and it's going to sound really played out, but all I want to do with my life is continue to help people. And whether I do it on this platform for the next 5 years or if I continue to grow, I mean, ideally, I want to continue to grow. I want to take my workshops all over the US and Canada. I want to help people on a large scale,
Mm-hmm.
as large as possible. I really want to spread the word of self-love and self-worth because there are far too many people living their lives as if they're not worthy of having or attaining their dreams. There are far
Yeah.
too many people settling. So I would love to continue to spread my wings and talk more in different cities and offer more workshops and continue with my one-on-one because the one-on-one is where the magic happens.
Awesome. Well, on that note, where can people go to book you for a speaking engagement, learn about your programs, and contact you directly?
Yeah, so they just head to my website, www.iamruby, so it's iamru.by.
Awesome. And it's on the screen.
Yeah, it's on the screen. And yeah, people can see my coaching programs and my contact form right there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Oh, wait, I have one more question.
Yes.
If you had $1 million that was given to you tomorrow and you can wave your magic wand, what would you use the $1 million for to create a change in the world?
That is a really good question. I would love to put together a large scale event that celebrates just self love and self worth and being the best person you can and bringing together people who are all working towards that goal and then having that be shared with the world. So just a really large scale event where people can connect and people can really tune in and own who they are, learn from some of the, I mean, people would attend for free. I mean, I want to do something that is hugely impactful for people and provides them with an opportunity where they can just get what they need when they need it.
Awesome. So it'd be like a massive healing conference.
Exactly.
I want to do one of those too, so we'll talk. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you subscribe to this channel to get your weekly fix for all you spiritual gangsters. Any questions or comments, go to my site at taramagalski.com, drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. And stay tuned for next week. I got the good stuff.